So do you make a list of all the books that you plan on reading in the coming month? I do, so stick around to see my March TBR. Well, hello friends. For those of you new around here, my name is Roger and welcome to my channel, Rogers Reads. So this is my March TBR, the books that I plan on reading in the month of March. And it's quite an ambitious TBR this month. One reason is I've included all the books that I hope to read for the BookTube SFF Science Fiction and Fantasy Read Along. And I actually created a video about that, so you can check out the video to learn more. So, on to the TBR. So the first book that I have on my list is entitled Circe by Madeline Miller. So this book is part of the SFF shortlist that I'll be reading in March. And I actually finished this book on Saturday. I actually started it and finished it on Saturday. So this follows Circe, the daughter of the sun god Helios and witch, who ends up getting exiled to an island. And my full review of this book will be forthcoming. But let me just say that I loved it. All right, next book on the TBR is The Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. And this is also on the SFF shortlist for this year. So from what I understand, this is a West African-inspired fantasy that follows two main characters who try to bring magic back into the world from which it was stolen. But to do so, they'll need to strike against a ruthless monarchy. And this book has received a lot of positive hype on Goodreads and on BookTube, so I'm looking forward to getting into this in March. So the next book that I hope to read in March is entitled Black Leopard, Red Wolf. And as you can tell from the bookmark, I'm actually reading it now. I just started it a couple days ago. And it's quite a heavy book, actually. It's 600 pages, but it doesn't look it because the paper is very thin, but the book weighs a ton. So the story draws from African history and mythology and follows a person named Tracker, who, along with a motley crew, one of whom is a shape-shifting panther, are engaged to track down a mysterious boy who disappeared 3 years earlier. And there are all sorts of secrets surrounding this boy and all sorts of mystery. So they take off on their search, and along the way they encounter all sorts of supernatural creatures and demons and deities and more. And thus far I'm really enjoying it. But it's not the kind of book though that you can get through quickly, so it's probably going to take me a while to get through this. So next up is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. And this is another book that I'm reading, or I should say listening to, for the SFF read-along. And I'm actually listening to this on Audible. And this follows a girl named Jude who, when she was 7 years old, her parents were murdered by a fae, and she and her two sisters were stolen away to live in the treacherous high court of Fairy. So it's 10 years later now, and Jude wants nothing more than to belong there, to fit in despite her mortality. But many of the fae, a good number of the fae, despise humans, especially Prince Carden, the youngest and cruelest son of the High King. So Jude gets caught up in palace intrigues and deceptions, discovering her own capacity for bloodshed. So Jude will need to risk her life in a dangerous alliance to save her sisters and to save Fairy itself. So I'm a good way into this, and thus far I'm really enjoying it. And I know a sequel just came out called The Wicked King. So I probably will continue listening on with that once I finish this. But yeah, really liking it. So the next book on my list is The Calculating Stars by Mary Robinette Kowal. And this is another SFF shortlisted book that I hope to get to in the month of March. And I don't have it, I requested it from the library, so it should be here in a day or two. So, this story. So in 1952, a huge meteorite falls to Earth and destroys pretty much of the east coast of the United States. causing a huge climate catalysm, which will soon render the Earth pretty much inhospitable for humanity, resulting in a radically accelerated effort to colonize space. So the story revolves around a young woman named Elma York, whose drive it is to become the first female astronaut, and to do so she has to face off against the dearly held conventions of society, and it's not going to be an easy road for her. So that sounds very intriguing, so I'm looking forward to this. Okay, so the next book on my list is Aru Shah and the End of Time by Roshani Chokshi. So this is another book that is shortlisted for the SFF Awards, and it's a middle grade fantasy that follows 7th grader Aru, who lights an ancient lamp, and when she does, the world freezes and she releases the awful sleeper. So now her classmates and her beloved mother are all frozen in time, and it's up to Aru to save them. Now, the only way to stop the demon is to find the reincarnations of the 5 legendary Pandava brothers, and to do that she has to journey through the kingdom of death. So, how hard could that be? And I imagine that all sorts of hijinks will ensue, so I'm looking forward to that. And that's another book that I have requested from the library. So the next book on my list is Beneath the Sugar Sky by Seanan and McGuire. And again, this is another book on the SFF shortlist. And this follows Rini, who lands in the pond behind Eleanor West's Home for Wayward Children. Now this is the book of the Wayward Children series, but it is a standalone, so this can be read on its own. Though people have recommended to me to read the first book in the series first, because that may help explain some things, and I do have that requested as well. So anyway, Rini lands in the pond behind the school, and the last thing she expects to find is that her mother, Sumi, died years before Rini was even conceived. What? But Rini can't let reality get in the way of her quest, and now when she has an entire world to save. So, if she can't find a way to restore her mother, she will never have been born in the first place. So I love novels with time travel twists and space-time continuums, so this sounds like something I'll really enjoy. So the next one on my list is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. And this is one that I've been meaning to read for a long time. So this revolves around the lost city of Weep, which has become unlost. So the story follows a person named Laszlo Strange, who is our dreamer, and he's on his way to see the newly discovered Weep. But then he's caught up in an old conflict between Weep's mortal residents and the blue godlike beings who had terrorized the city. So that's about all I know about this story. But I know that the book has been well received by a lot of people, so I'm looking forward to reading it. One of the reasons I'm reading it right now is because this is the prequel to Muse of Nightmares that I will be reading for the SFF read-along. And I think we're reading that one in May, so I have a month to get through it. Okay, so next up on my list is Slayer by Kiersten White. So this is a brand new series set in the world of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I was hooked right there. But anyway, this introduces a new Slayer as she grapples with the responsibility of managing her incredible powers that she's just beginning to understand. So it follows Nina and her twin sister Artemis, who grew up actually at the Watchers Academy, where teens are trained as guides for slayers, who are girls gifted with supernatural strength to fight the forces of darkness. So Nina has never really embraced the violent Watcher lifestyle, and instead she uses her instincts to heal and hoping to carve out a place for herself as a school medic. But one day, Nina's life changes forever. Thanks to Buffy, the famous and infamous Slayer that Nina's father died protecting, Nina is not only the newest chosen one, she is the last Slayer ever, period. So Nina hones her skills fighting various monsters, but it's not until bodies start turning up that Nina's new powers will truly be tested, because someone she loves might be next. So yeah, a book set in the world of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I'm right there. I can't wait to get into this one. So the next book on my list is My Sister the Serial Killer by Untitled Braithwaite. So the book opens when Ayula is on the phone to her older sister because she's just killed her boyfriend and needs helping clean up the scene. The kicker is, it's not the first time this has happened, that one of Ayula's boyfriends has met the business end of her blade. So Ayula's older sister Corinne has drawn upon her nursing training to clean up after the two other unfortunately deceased boyfriends. But things get really interesting when Ayula sets her sights on a man who is the object of Corinne's desire. So it sounds like a very interesting tale of sibling rivalry, where one of the siblings is a mass murderer. So I've heard a lot of good things about this book, and it sounds good. Okay, so the next book on my list is Aquicorn Cove. And this is another SSF read, which is a graphic novel, I do believe, and I actually have that on order for the library as well. And this follows a young girl who, unable to rely on the adults in her storm-ravaged seaside town, must protect a colony of magical seahorse-like creatures she discovers in the coral reef. So, should be interesting, no doubt. And the next book on my list is Warrior of the Wild. And this is written by Trisha Levenseller. So this follows 18-year-old Rashmira, who has trained her whole life to become a warrior and lead her village. But when her coming-of-age trial is sabotaged and she ends up failing the test, her father banishes her to the wilderness that's filled with monsters, with an impossible quest. In order to win back her honor, she has to kill the oppressive god who claims tribute from the villages each year, or she'll have to die trying. So this sounds very good. And this is a recent release. It just came out, so I hope to get to this fairly quickly. And that is it. So kind of an ambitious TBR. Well, I did read 13 in February. That was a short month. So maybe I'll be able to pull this off. But I'm going to give it my best. So how about you? What are you reading in the month of March? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like this video, I'd really appreciate it if you click the old like button below, as that really helps me out. And I think that'll do it for now. I will talk to you in the next video. Roger and out. Ooh.